Pastor Allen, I'm back. I want to talk to you today about the origin of sun worship, the Trinity, Babylon, and Sunday worship. Satan's church had its beginning at Babylon with the construction of the Tower of Babel on the plain of Shinar by the Euphrates River many generations after the deluge, that's the flood. At the time of the construction of Babylon at the Tower of Babel, mankind had multiplied and spoken one language. Cush, who was the son of Ham and grandson of Noah, helped to plan with his son Nimrod a blueprint by which to rule the world of humanity through a wicked counterfeit religion. Nimrod was the originator of sun worship and founder of Babylon. A Bible translation called the Targum says Nimrod became a mighty man of sin, a murderer of innocent men, and a rebel before the Lord. The beginning of Nimrod's evil plan had its origin at Babel, which was later known as Babylon. This city of Babylon, with a tower whose top may reach into heaven, was built by Nimrod. They called the tower Babel, the gates of heaven, but God called it what it was, which was Babel, confusion. For there God confused the language of the people, which forced them to scatter. This heaven-defying group of people wanted one government to rule the world, and one religion to sway the hearts of mankind. This was Satan's attempt to defy God and his authority, and the ringleader of this scheme was Nimrod. But God came down and stopped this worldwide rebellion at Babel. In defiance of his command for mankind to replenish the earth by confusing their language unto many languages, so they could not understand one another's speech, mankind discontinued the building of Babel and were scattered to different parts of the world. Now we see in the origins of the Church of Satan, which is started at the Tower of Babel with its ringleader, Nimrod. Nimrod had a plan to weld together and strengthen this evil religious system, and so he married his own mother, who was Semiramis. She was the first defiled queen of Babylon, and Nimrod was the first defiled king. Semiramis was as wicked as her son Nimrod, and as much sold out to Satan and devil worship as he did. Incest was used here as a basis to unite this newly false religious system. Nimrod and his mother-wife would be greatly used by Satan in the following centuries to send countless millions and even billions of souls to hell. Satan's plan was to develop a counterfeit opposition system of religion to attract worship away from the true God of heaven. This false system had its sacrificial plan, just as God had a plan of sacrifice. But Satan's pagan worship required the offering up of human beings, which was often the sons and daughters of the worshipers. A counterfeit holy day was instituted in honor of the sun, Sunday. Sunday, that's why we worship it on Sunday, called all the way back to the Tower of Babel. And this was designed by Satan to rob God of his peculiar authority as the creator of the universe, as designated by his holy day, the Sabbath. It was designated to come in and change God's Sabbath and God's day of rest to Sunday, which was sun worship, and nobody never really researched it to find out what was going on and what was happening. And people still have service on Sunday, and then when they look at Seventh-day Adventists, they want to call them a cult because they still keep the Sabbath. You have noticed how cult symbols are typically reversed. Example, the cult symbol for the cross is an inverted cross. Most have never noticed that God uses the 6-1 principle, that is, you have 6 of something normal, and then on the 7th, something special happens. Example, God created the world in 6 days, and the 7th is a special day of rest and worship. Crops were grown for 6 years, and the 7th year the land rested. Slaves were kept for 6 years and were to be set free on the 7th year. There are 6 weeks from Passover to the 7th week being Pentecost. There are 6 months from Passover to the 7th month being the Day of Atonement. Bible chronologists say we are currently approaching the end of 6,000 years since creation, and if Christ returns at the end of 6,000 years, we will then have the 7,000th year, the 1,000-year millennial reign. Revelation chapter 20, verse 1 through 15. So 6,000 years plus 1,000 years, millennium, equals 7,000 years. None of this is by chance and is God's plan. Observe the days of the week below. God's plan is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is the 7th day, the Sabbath. The first 6 days are normal, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Remember that the occult uses the reverse symbol or the opposite in opposition to God. So if Sunday was Satan's plan for the day of worship, we have seen historically that it is then his week would be the reverse of God's week. Instead of being 6 and 1 principle, it would be 1 and 6. As seen from the table below, this is the case, and so it is not just 2 days side by side. It is the occult equivalent, and this is not by chance, but Satan's choice. Satan chose these days, and he chose the 7th day as not a day of rest, but he reversed it, and he started off with Sunday on the first day, and people have been worshiping on the first day all of these years, saying we are representing the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but there's nowhere in the Bible where Jesus Christ changed the law of the Sabbath and made it the first day. And even when he rose from the dead, he never made any statements that the Sabbath is changed to Sunday. Go and check your research and do your diligent research, because the Bible says men are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The King is coming.